Hi there, Anna Fox with Equus Enlightened here, and today I want to talk to you about an often overlooked skill in our riding lessons. It's called exteriorception. If you haven't read my blog on the subject, take a look. I'll put the link in the comments, but don't worry, I will tell you exactly what the term means if you haven't read it yet. Have you ever felt that you just weren't a good enough rider? You'll never move up to the next level, and you definitely need a better horse. Have you thought, well, riding is just too hard, or I just don't have the right physique? Have you wondered how some people always seem to know what is coming and ride their horses with very little effort? You know the people who can ride any horse and look like they're always having fun doing it. Do you ask yourself, what do they have that I don't? Well, one thing is likely an intuitive sense of exteroception. Now, I know you're like, what the heck is exteroception? I've never even heard that term before. But I'm willing to bet that you have heard the term feel before. You've heard people talk about how so and so has a great feel for the horse, have a great feel in the saddle, or whatever. Am I right? There seems to always be a debate on this topic, too. Can you learn it, or do you just have to be born with it? I think it is something that can be and should be taught. I often have students come to me, and the first thing I do is ask, how did that feel? More often than not, I get a blank stare. Sometimes a student will start reciting some former lesson verbiage or something that sounds like comments off their latest dressage test, but they rarely ever tell me how it felt. Without going into a bunch of existentialism, most people ride horses because of the connection with the horse and the feelings they have about it. So, why aren't students using their feeling in training? I think learning exteroception can be broken down into some easy parts: focus, relaxation, and perseverance. Soon you can be feeling like a fantastic rider, ready for the next level, saying, I can ride anything, and most importantly, I feel it. I know there are a lot of people that go around for years fighting the same problems with themselves or their horses. They think the only way to get ahead is more blood, sweat, tears, and of course, money. They think riding has to be done in a certain way, and the harder they try, the more elusive the happiness. I see these riders all the time. Sometimes they jump from trainer to trainer. Sometimes they jump from horse to horse or from one piece of equipment to the next, and they just never seem to find a happy place. You see this wear on the trainers too. Initially, they may be upset if a person leaves their tutelage, but then there's a sense of relief when they see that the next trainer is having the same difficulties with that person. I don't think trainers really want their students to struggle. I know I don't. The trouble is, most trainers have a limited amount of time with their students. It's not possible to teach everything in that time. We have to pick and choose our focus for the day or lesson time, and I'm willing to bet that most trainers aren't focusing on developing your feel in a lesson. First, it's a hard thing to teach, and most horse professionals are probably born with it, or at least an inherent sense to figure it out. Second, it's an ongoing process and evolves with each new movement or skill you try to teach. It's also such a basic skill that many trainers assume you have some knowledge of it, unless they started teaching you as a beginner, maybe. Last, you could spend hours on a topic, and you're probably paying for 45 minutes to an hour, right? This is one of the things about horse sports that has confused me since I started doing athletic training and working with many other sports. We tend to have one trainer that we see maybe once a week for 45 minutes, and then we expect to haul off to a show and be the best at that horse show. Huh? Other sports practice for hours a day, have multiple trainers on every aspect of the sport, and then spend just as many hours analyzing their sport and their techniques. Equestrians are selling themselves short, and I want to help fix that. So other than a largely overlooked topic in rider training, what is exteroception? It is a sensitivity to stimuli originating outside of the body. You know, everything your horse is doing underneath you and around you. And if you haven't checked out that blog yet, click the link in the comments. We'll give you a little more detail. So how does being sensitive to stimuli outside of the body help me in my horse riding? Well, do I really need to explain that one? I mean, you're sitting on an animal that is outside of your body and has its own thoughts, emotions, and plans for the day. So what I will do is give you some benefits of exteroception. Number one, it optimizes your communication with the horse. In riding and working with horses, there are 3 forms of exteroception that I think are most important: vision, touch, and sensitivity. Horses are visual animals, as are we, as humans, and they will follow the vision of another horse and their rider. You know, the scenario of one horse picking up its head in the warm-up area, perking up its ears, and looking off into the distance. And pretty soon, every other horse is doing the same thing. Horses use their vision to keep them out of danger. And since you're riding, or at least handling your horse, they're really interested in where you are looking too. I mean, is there an easier way to communicate than looking at something and thinking, I want to go over there? Probably not, but your horse has to have confidence in you and your ability to communicate. Just go over there before he'll just go over there. Touch is a big part of our communication with our horses. So we should be able to gauge how much is needed at any given time. We use our exteroceptors to do that. Plus, as we ride, the horse is communicating with us through touch. So a good rider can feel what his horse is thinking or thinking about doing just by touch, just by the feel under the saddle. Sensitivity is a big topic, and usually it's all about the horse. Some are not sensitive enough, and some are too sensitive, and rarely is there that perfectly sensitive horse. Or is it that perfectly sensitive rider we should be searching for? How sensitive are you to what your horse is saying? Exteroception also enhances the rider's ability to anticipate and react to the horse. And that's our second benefit of my top 3 benefits: enhancing your ability to anticipate and react to the horse. So if you know where your horse is looking, you can better gauge what they're thinking and feel where they might go. And if we can learn to start with the lightest touch needed to elicit just a thought from our horses, we can guide their focus and teach sensitivity. If we always start with more pressure than is needed, we teach dullness and resentment. And nobody wants a resentful horse. The third benefit, and maybe the most important one, is learning exteroception builds rider confidence, and then the horse's confidence in the rider, because you'll feel better equipped to sense what is going on underneath you and be better able to respond to however your horse reacts. The horse will be able to sense your confidence, and that will improve his confidence. Now, you're thinking, okay, but how do I learn something that should be intuitive? Easy. Think about all the other things you've learned in your life that are now intuitive. Walking, eating, typing, for most of us. Even tacking up your horse. Think of the athletes in other sports that spend hours mastering a move just so it becomes intuitive. Yes, learning exteroception and mastering it is going to take time. No, you don't have to stop doing what you're doing and only focus on exteroception. You can keep working on your regular lessons, but you do have to make time for it. And then you have to keep making time for it until you've trained your brain to work on it all by itself. I've broken the learning process down into 3 basic learning principles: relaxation, focus, and diligence. As humans, we're generally not the most relaxed species, and the more attention you hold as a rider, the less able you are to receive information from your horse, okay? Or your surroundings. And the harder it is then to communicate with your horse. So we have to find a way to relax our minds and the tension holding muscles in our bodies so we can allow input from the horse. Tense muscles or a tense brain do not allow input, and they muddle up your output, leading to a real breakdown of communication or a neural traffic jam, if you will. Then we have focus, and I see lots of people confusing focus and goal. Focus is your right here, right now. It might be the slightest movement or the slightest thought. We have to tune into that, trust our instincts about what feedback we are getting, and then we can analyze what those feelings might mean. We also have to be able to analyze our requests of the horse for their effectiveness. Did I get a response? Like any at all? Did I get the response I wanted? Why did I get that response? If it wasn't the response that I wanted. And once we can identify whether we are getting good responses from our aids or not, we can start to imagine how to get better responses or use less pressure. And that is the ultimate goal, right? To ride and make it look like we're doing nothing at all. Next, you just have to work on it and work on it a lot. It takes diligence to master a new skill and certainly to turn that skill into intuition. This is not something that's going to be learned in a day or a few lessons. It is an ongoing process of development and refinement of your skills. This thing actually has little to do with what you want your horse to learn. It is all about you. Yay! It's important to be conscious of this process until we don't have to be conscious about it anymore. And how do we know we don't have to be conscious about it anymore? Most likely, you won't at first. Then you'll have a moment of great communication with your horse. And you'll think, oh my God, how did I do that? That is really an amazing feeling and will make your training so much easier, your sessions much happier, and your goals much more attainable. I want to help you make those goals a reality and help you stop struggling. So if you have any questions about the process or you want to share something you've learned about exteriorception, feel free to do so in the comments. You can also message me or visit my website, links on the page, and check out my short course on how to start learning exteriorception. With the course, you can take advantage of a free consult. Exteriorception is something that's overlooked many times in training, but it's not always the thing or the biggest thing holding you back. So even if you think something else is really holding you back, that's okay. I'd love to help you discover what that one thing is. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. Take care and happy riding.